Hello, Gemini. Here's your weekly horoscope for the week of January 24th to 30th. Well, last week was certainly shocking in some ways for some people. The Mars-Uranus conjunction that I talked about in the sign of Taurus last week is continuing this week, and there's other things sort of coming to a head as well. This planetary package is also taking on some squares to the Sun. It had been squaring Jupiter and Saturn. That kind of continues at least weekly this week to some effect. What all this means basically is we're still in a time of upheaval, unexpected changes, a lot of things sort of up in the air, and we're not able to make positive or smooth progression. Well, all of this is definitely pandemic related, I'm sure. And we're all getting a little tired of this pandemic, and I'm sure Gemini is as well, since you do like to be out and about and darting around from here to there and living your life like you normally do. But you cannot do that right now because we have pandemic conditions, quarantines in many parts of the world still. So, what all this means is you might be feeling a bit frustrated, as we all are. There are some breaks to some degree. So let's cover the negative stuff first. We've got these squares going on, as I mentioned, in the signs of Taurus and Aquarius. And for you, that does sort of put in conflict some areas that might be somewhat hidden, and also anything to do with education, travel, or higher life philosophy. So these squares are highlighting these areas for your sign. And, for some of you, you may be getting more spiritual because of what's going on. Some of you may be getting more in touch with personal growth endeavors, or reading books on weathering difficult times or what have you. Gemini's pretty good. When you need to make changes, you learn how to do it, and then you're off and you make the changes as you need. But unfortunately, the aspects that we're seeing now are very, very stressful. And even if you try to make some changes, you might end up having to change your mind again. So things are kind of still up in the air. What I would suggest for your sign, try not to do anything exciting this week. Try to keep things kind of low profile. I wouldn't get too busy if you can help it. Having said all that, now with the square aspects that I'm looking at, I feel that you probably are being run off your feet a little bit lately, and this week may be no exception. We have Mercury moving to a retrograde by the end of the week, so as it's slowing down in the sign of Aquarius, it actually is making some positive aspects. So this is a very good week to do pre-Mercury retrograde stuff. If you don't know what that is, take a look at my website, RobShawAstrology.ca. There's a couple articles on Mercury retrograde there, and next week I'm releasing a new one on how to deal with this one. But for now, this week, it is a good idea to try to get do all your backups of your computer, get things done if you can before the end of the week, Gemini, as busy as you may be, because once Mercury goes retrograde, if you have heard this before, lived through them before, you know that things can get mixed up suddenly and easily and unexpectedly, often in very small ways, but that have larger issues. So we'll talk more about that next week. But for this week, Gemini, you should be getting your nose to the grindstone and try to get as much done as you can. Now, these Mars squares, as I mentioned, they throw a lot of crap around at a lot of people. And let's put it this way, there's a lot of people who like to throw crap around. They're feeling frustrated, angry, upset, whatever, so they want us to hurt as well. Well, stay away from those kind of people in those kinds of situations, because you don't really need or want to be getting into it. You have some aspects coming up that might be more positive for your sign. Once we get through March, April, and some of these square cycles that we're dealing with, so as the year progresses, Gemini, things will be better for you. You will see. But for now, you need to keep a bit of a low profile until that happens. With the softer aspects going on by Neptune, Pluto, and the planetoid, centaur, asteroid, whatever they're calling it these days, known as Chiron, these are making some softer aspects in astrology, and fortunately hitting your sign fairly positive. So while you may be observing a lot of other people going through some really pretty tough times this week still, for you, there are some softer aspects. So if you can be there for people and loved ones, that's great. Of course, you may not be physically present, but reaching out to loved ones and letting them know you're there for them is a good thing. And as well, you may find if you reach out that they're there for you too. So aside from all these heavy squares going on this week, beyond that, things aren't too bad for your sign. I hope you end up making it a very good week, Gemini.